So thank you for coming out today, and
of course.
Tell my audience, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, Hablo Momdjian again with Loan Titan Incorporated. I've been a mortgage broker for the last 8 years now. Love what I do, helping people purchase their dream homes, finding them the right loan product that best fits their financing goals and needs. A little bit about our company. We're a mortgage broker. We are also a correspondent lender. So we have the best of both worlds in a sense of finding the right product or program as well as interest rates and being able to cater to as many people as possible.
Sweet. What's one thing that people wouldn't normally know about you?
That's a good question. One thing I just told you actually is I used to box. So for 11 years of my life I was in boxing.
Yeah.
So not very many people know about that, but interesting little fact.
So low key, don't mess with you.
I'm a nice person. I'm a nice person.
All right. So you're a lender.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you do a bunch of different types of loans.
Right.
What would you say are your top loans that you do the most?
So broken down into 3 different categories. First-time home buyers, meaning your conventional borrower, full doc. We're reviewing tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs, business bank statements. That's our bread and butter. So we run through all of those files with a fine-tooth comb, and we can close them anywhere from 14 to 20 days.
Wow.
Another loan product that's we're very well versed in is our out-of-the-box financing, which is more catered towards self-employed borrowers that don't show the strongest tax returns. They're cash-intensive businesses, and when you look at their net income or take-home, they can't qualify for much, but they're high net worth individuals. We're able to find a loan product, whether it's through a bank statement loan or a true stated income loan or a reduced documented loan, to be able to provide financing. And the final is our in-house private money loan product, which a lot of developers use. And we break it down into construction loans as well. So we'll work with your contractor and dividing up the funds in phases to be able to finance the next construction project as well.
Okay. So, it sounds like, you work with retail buyers, you work with investors, you work with developers. You kind of do everything.
Exactly.
Perfect. How long have you been in the lending industry?
So I've been in the lending industry for 8 years now. I started when I was 18, fresh out of high school. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and just kind of ended up falling in love with it.
Well,
so
you're well ahead, my friend. I started real estate at 27, and I'm 37. So put that in.
He doesn't look a day over 20, right?
Yeah. All right, and then how do you feel about the current, what is your opinion or what do you see in the current state of the market, both with the housing market, anything that you've seen trends this year, and how have rates influenced?
So it's no secret that rates have definitely caused a pullback amongst buyers that aren't able to qualify in today's market.
Yeah.
But with the lack of inventory, we are seeing homes fly off the shelves today.
Yeah.
So with the limited amount of buyers that are out there and the limited amount of properties that are out there, from my point of view, I see the same level of competition as 2020, 2021. When interest rates were at floor levels.
Yeah, I think it depends on the property. It's a little pickier.
Definitely. If it's priced correctly, that makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, no, definitely in 2021 it was like any property you called had 20 offers,
ready
10
to,
offers.
People were ready to cut
Yeah.
off their left arm to get their offer accepted.
Donate their firstborn.
Yeah.
So you mentioned how rates have, obviously made the affordability a little bit more. How are people adjusting to that?
So there's a variety of different programs to be able to get your rate down temporarily. One thing that's very popular that we coach our buyers on is the 2-1 rate buy down.
Okay.
So for the first 2 years,
Yeah.
their interest rate is going to be 2% less the first year, 1% less the second year, and the third to 30th year, it would be
On par.
what the prime rate is at
Yeah.
the day of our lock. What this does is give the buyer time to be able to refinance in the future, assuming rates go down.
And some savings up front.
Correct.
A lot of savings, and 2%.
Now, I mean, and it's huge. But besides that, we coach our clients on what their monthly budget is, right?
Yeah.
And keeping them within that monthly budget. Say, for example, someone's qualifications are up to $1 million. Their monthly budget is only up to $800,000.
Yeah.
We'll give them the pre-approval letter for $1 million, but let them know, hey, you wanted your payment to be within, say, for example, just a random number, $6,000. It's going to be in $800,000 range.
Cool. So we've been working together for over a year now, and we partner with Zillow. We do a lot of open houses together. I mean, we really like working with you. You've helped a lot of our clients. I got to ask, what attracted you to want to work with us?
And first and foremost, the feeling is mutual. But as far as Kevin's team, very well structured, very, very knowledgeable, and most importantly, and one thing that I hold near and dear to my heart, they care about their clients, which is a big, big game changer when purchasing a home. Who you work with definitely does matter. They always go to bat for our clients, and every transaction is seamless.
There you go. Thank you.
Of course.
And what unique advantages, let's talk about our open house, the way we do open houses. What unique advantages do you see when you do the open houses with us?
Number one, it's personable. Two, all the homes are very well priced. So, one thing that I've noticed is a line forming out the door. So
we do that intentionally.
but it goes to show you that you truly care about getting your seller top dollar, right? So, just seeing 20, 30 people, especially in today's market, lined up out the door is amazing.
And so what he's referring to is we have two different ones. So we have our auction style, and we only allow a few, one or two or three parties. It depends on the listing, in at a time. They're all supervised. They're guided tours, and his job is just he signs everybody in, and he talks to them about the finances. So it's a win-win. It allows us to give guided tours, point out everything that's great about the home, and allows him an opportunity to actually talk to the consumer. Because how many people do you find show up at an open house without a pre-approval letter?
Oh, tons.
Like over half?
Most initial home purchase decisions are made on impulse, seeing an open house sign, and hey, let's go check it out. Let's see what it's all about.
Or you have your Zillow app out, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's an open house, honey.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. You've worked with a few of our clients now. Share a success story one that you would like to highlight of the.
Oh man. It would definitely have to be a transaction that I closed with Tatiana. She was able to get our client an $18,000 seller credit back towards closing costs.
Which one was that one again?
Eugene.
Oh, yeah. I remember that was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
it was a good one.
Yeah.
$18,000. And handled it like a pro. You would.
100%.
She's been working with me for over 3 years now, and now she's a licensed agent. But you would have thought she's been working in real estate for 7 years.
Absolutely. It was the first I've seen of credit that high in a transaction.
Her first transaction, she pulled off at 30,000.
Well, there you go. There you go.
All right. So now we're going to talk about the consumer, and I want you to give, just lay out your tips and advice for anybody watching this video who's thinking about buying their first home or buying their third home or their 10th home. What are some tips that you would give for somebody to make, one, make the process easier, and two, make the process better?
Right. So first and foremost, what you'll find is about 90% of the approval process is based off of the consumer's debt-to-income ratio.
Okay.
So trying to keep your liabilities as minimal as possible, and when I say liabilities, anything that would show up on your credit when we run it, so credit cards, auto loans, leases, things of that nature, try to keep it as low as possible, but consult with a loan officer prior to paying anything off, right? If you don't need to pay it off, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hold on to that cash. But besides that, one thing that I always recommend is, always try to talk to a trusted professional prior to making a decision of whether or not you qualify. A common myth or misconception is, oh, my taxes don't look the best, or I just started working at my salary position, I don't qualify. We'll guide you in the right direction. And a salaried position, you don't need 2 years of employment in order to get approved.
Yeah. I also find sometimes people say, oh, maybe my credit's not good enough. And you say, what's your credit score? They're like 680. It's like, well, actually, we talk.
But we don't reject anybody, right? We give you a game plan.
Yeah.
If your goal is, hey, I don't want to make a purchase at 680, I want to make a purchase at a 750 credit score. We'll coach them, get them to that point.
Okay. So you help with the credit repair as well.
Exactly.
I like it. So keep your debts low. What's the threshold you need to keep your debts under?
So the end goal with your proposed mortgage payment is to keep your debt to income ratio at 49% or below.
Okay.
So if you're making $10,000 a month, $4,900 or less.
Okay. So, and if you were to look at it, I mean, just to adapt this to like life, okay? So that means all your debts add up to about 50% of your gross income. The government's going to take 30, and the other 20% is everything you're going to live on.
Exactly.
Outside of housing.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And outside of other debts, because if you have a car payment, credit cards, student loans, paying back a loan from the pandemic, whatever, right?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then how do you ensure a smooth transaction once you're in escrow?
So we do a very thorough job up front, right? Most of my clients, during that intro call, I usually let them know, hey, you'll probably hate me when you see the list of items I'm requesting for the pre-approval, but I'm doing it to ensure that there's no hiccups.
Yeah.
There's no reason why this loan should fall out of escrow, and we're 100% guaranteeing that you would qualify for any purchase, assuming the property appraises and assuming that there's no issues with the condo, there's no litigation or anything along those lines if they are purchasing a condo, or if they don't lose their job, right?
Or they don't take out another loan in the process.
Exactly, but we have our do's and don'ts during the pre-approval process as well, explaining everything as thoroughly as possible, so our clients don't take that step either.
So you brought up 2 points, and I just want to elaborate on it real quick. I don't want to take up too much time on this, but one, you do a lot of work up front. How does that help the buyer when they're making an offer?
So what we do on our end is we'll be able to work with aggressive terms.
Yeah.
Right.
And what does that look like?
So, for example, you'd be able to do a close of escrow in 20 days, 21 days, maybe no loan contingency, we'll be able to play around with the numbers a little bit and try to get an appraisal waiver, so no appraisal contingency. So we do all of that up front to be able to make your offer as attractive as possible.
Okay. And in my experience, what that does is you can actually go head to head with a cash offer.
Exactly.
And now you're not afraid of getting hit by, getting beat by a cash offer,
Exactly.
which is only about 25-30% of the time, but they're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there. Okay, cool. And then the second thing you brought up, let me see. The first one was prepping, and then the second one. So we've had a couple situations where there was litigation on the condo, and so just because there's litigation on a condo, does that mean the condo is not purchasable?
No.
Okay.
So there's a variety of different options that we'll be able to pick and choose from as far as financing it. The first is, depending on the litigation, we'll be able to do, if the litigation is severe enough, meaning there's structural damage and it puts the borrower in harm's way, we'll be able to do something called a non-warrantable condo purchase. Okay. Typically, interest rates are higher on those. Yeah. The second alternative is, if there is no structural damage, we'll be able to restructure the loan, flip it from either Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and figure out which one would be able to approve that condo, and in the secondary market be able to buy it back.
Or do a direct loan.
Exactly.
Okay, that works. We already talked about how current interest rates are affecting the market. How can essentially the new mortgage payment you're working with and where prices are, how can that impact someone's decision to buy or refinance a home?
So in today's market, what we're seeing is consumers are very payment driven. So anything past the specific dollar amount that they don't feel comfortable with, they're going to cut it out, right?
Isn't that always the case?
That's always the case, but in previous markets, what we saw is, because interest rates were so low, they were a little bit more flexible with what their monthly payments were. Today, it's we don't see interest rate playing too much of a factor with home buyers in the market that can afford the monthly payment, right? So, for example, if their monthly budget is $4,000, they're not really looking at what the interest rate is. They just want to stay $4,000 or below.
Yeah. Okay. And are there, in your experience, I mean, where, I'm sure you have a lot of pre-approvals out there, you see a lot of agents writing offers, where are you seeing the most competition right now?
For my business specifically, I would say it's a tough draw between Granada Hills and Glendale.
Really?
Between the two.
Really, two really hot markets, huh?
I think those two specifically, simply due to the schools.
Oh, got it.
So,
I mean, Derek's listing in Winnetka has 18 offers on it and counting. I know more offers are coming in.
Yeah.
I do find that the Valley is just a very hot market.
I agree. I think specific areas hotter than others. Yeah, for sure.
Not just temperature wise.
Right. I live out there. It's brutal. Yeah. But nonetheless, I think that right now there's everyone's focus is there a little bit. Yeah. But again, working with you guys as well in South Bay, it's just as hot here as it is.
It's competitive. No, you're absolutely right. It's a competitive market, and one cool thing, and having a great lender is extremely effective in getting your offer accepted faster.
Right.
Because you get to play around with things. It almost it gives us more tools in our toolbox to be able to win. But even in these highly competitive markets, we're still getting every first or second offer accepted. So,
correct.
It's part of it is the process you follow. The other part is the parts of the process.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like who's contributing and how are they contributing. So, and then how would you say the real estate market has evolved since you first got into business?
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Or since the pandemic.
Okay,
Tell me which one you want to answer.
So I'll give you both.
Okay.
I feel like today's market is what the market was like when I first started.
Okay. People don't realize, when I first started, man, it was a hot market.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not easy.
I think that it's normalized. What we saw post-COVID, so 2020 and 2021, when rates were, essentially money was...
I have a 2.375 mortgage.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Money was handed out for free. We saw a very inflated market and a very extremely competitive market.
Yeah.
Where you do a pre-approval, but you wouldn't necessarily know if they would get into escrow within the next 6-7 months, right? So if they just went gung ho and wrote a $200,000-$300,000 offer over asking price.
It was tough. And homes were going so far under asking, you had to weigh like contingent. Anyway, it was tough.
Yeah.
Okay. So to answer your question, to answer my question, essentially, you're saying real estate market now is reflective of what it was like before the pandemic. Correct. And the pandemic was just a different beast, and we may never see it again.
Absolutely. I think it would take another pandemic to be able to see what the market was like then.
Something.
Let's hope not.
Interesting times. We've introduced you. We've talked about your services. We've talked about how we met. How the market's changed. What buyers could do to get ready to buy a house. How they can make the process easier, simpler, and better. What do you see for the future of mortgages?
Okay, so I definitely see, as far as interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the topic of the last year and a half.
For good or bad.
For good or bad. I definitely see that rates will go down. It's just, we just don't know when.
Okay.
Right now, what we're seeing in the market is simply to bring down inflation.
Yeah.
Right?
It's trying to cool the market.
Not just the mortgage industry, not just the real estate industry, but automotive industry.
Yeah, I've heard about it, yeah. Business lending.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So bringing down the cost of goods in order to be able to normalize interest rates. So right now, that's the pure reason as far as why our rates are so high.
Yeah.
But I definitely see them dropping soon.
I mean, they're only on par with what it was in 2002, so it's not like that long ago.
Correct.
Right? And are there any exciting developments or innovations you see coming to us in the mortgage or the lending market?
So I definitely think that AI is going to become a big game changer in the mortgage industry. There are talks of, AI reviewing documents and things of that nature, so making the approval process a lot easier.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot quicker. Which, on our end, we usually give out pre-approvals within 24 hours usually, right? Maybe even same day approvals.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's a difficult file.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. And let's see, can you share a memorable experience or story from your career that has impacted the way you do business?
Absolutely. So I had one client that I've always kept near and dear to my heart. He had passed away recently, but his transaction was one of my first. I think it was, I believe, my second or third.
Okay.
And he became a repeat client after that transaction, and I made the level of service that I provided him a staple in my business. I had met him a year prior to us doing his loan.
Yeah.
I just followed up with him on a monthly basis, tried to keep in touch with him, 19-year-old kid, didn't know any anyone else to be able to follow up with, but I just kept that a staple in my business. And so I've always made that transaction as memorable as possible, and always remember his words of encouragement and letting me know, hey, you're doing a great job. Always continue working this way.
All right. So the affirmation or the recognition you got by doing your best there has helped you to go out and do it everywhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, we love working with you. Things are smooth. I mean, I haven't. Sometimes with lenders, they do. I mean, a lot of times on like my listings, and I think I've called you on a couple, like, hey, what's going on here? Like this lender's, something's going wrong. We had a listing earlier this year, and the guy took a week off. Just some personal issues that come up, but like it's like a week in the middle of a transaction. You can't just stop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one thing that as lenders we have to understand, and as professionals in general, realtors, lenders, it doesn't matter, is our clients rely on us with such an important investment, right?
The purchase doesn't pause because I need to go on vacation.
Absolutely. I would understand a day.
Yeah.
Right, but a week is a bit much for sure. But
he ended up crediting the seller, but then he ended up being way delayed in the end. Anyway, it was a huge headache. But
so, I mean, to your point, one thing that we like to take pride in is, at least on our end, is making sure everyone's on the same page. And if I leave, my team member is just as knowledgeable as me.
You know what?
And I have a mountain of people behind me and support staff to be able to take control over the file.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't go on vacation. I need it, especially when I get bags under my eyes.
I agree with you, and that's why on our team it is actually set up where if somebody, helps manage something for you or does something for you, there is a reward, a financial reward. We don't do favors on this team.
Absolutely.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing favors. It's just I like to keep it that, some kind of consideration happens. It's significant enough that the other person's happy to do the work for you, happy to do a good job, but not so much that you feel like you're getting bent over a barrel and you're giving up 100%. So much because you did work really hard to get there. So we have it set up that way on our team, so that if anybody needs coverage, they get it. They have to pay for it, but at the same time, you get what you pay for. If you pay somebody a decent amount to help your client, they're going to do a good job.
100%.
If you're just doing favors, in my experience, favors become very lopsided.
100%.
And then like one person's doing favors for somebody else too much, and then the other person's too busy to return the favor. And now they feel like they've been done wrong. So yeah.
Absolutely.
So definitely, for any lenders out there who are going, or real estate agents out there going on vacation, make sure you have somebody to cover your shit, because I gotta say, I've had some bad experience with some lenders just taking off, or real estate agents taking off, and it's like, what the heck, man?
It won't be the first time we hear of it. It won't be the last
time.
But, it's just something that we do on our end to be able to ensure a smooth transaction.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
How can everybody get in touch with you?
You guys can feel free to reach out to me at 818-334-7374. That's my cell number. Feel free to reach out anytime, and whether it's weekend, after hours, I'm always available to answer questions. Or my email, alvom@ltitan.com. And if you guys are ever in the Pasadena area, feel free to stop by our office.
Absolutely. And if you're not in the Pasadena office, feel free to stop by our office, and we'll set up a FaceTime with you.
Exactly.
And him. That works.
Beautiful.
And if you need to get a hold of me in order to accommodate that, it's 424-392-4213. Avo, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me,
What's
Kevin.
one last thing you want the viewer right now to see?
I know we're coming in close to the end of the year, so I'm wishing you guys an amazing rest of the year, those last 2 months. And And wishing you guys the best. Again,
Oh.
if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
I got one last thing to say.
Sure.
All right, you ready? So,
Let's hear it.
Realtor.com came out with a news article.
Okay.
And I already knew in my own experience that October, November are typically when I negotiate the best agreements.
Right.
Okay. So Realtor.com came out with an article saying that October 1st, which starts on Sunday, through October 7th, is statistically speaking the absolute best time of the year to buy a house from a national perspective.
Okay.
Homes that originate in that week sell 3.4% under the peak, which is typically June or July.
Okay.
So if you're considering buying a house,
call us today. Let's get you pre-approved.
Yeah.
And get you 3.4%
under. Yeah. So what I find, and this is just in my own, and leading up to it, this is why I used to, when we got in the market, I used to always tell clients, because it was back before we got every first or second offer accepted.
Right.
I was writing like 4, 5, 10 offers for clients. And now we have it so dialed in that we just, we develop the relationship, professionalism, sell the client, and then we get them the property. Back then, I was writing so many offers, I would reassure my client, almost like a pep talk, like, hey man, I know it's really tough right now, but in the fall,
I agree.
That's when the best time to buy, because it opens up. And then, but what happens is in November, as you get close to Thanksgiving, then it goes down because people stop putting their home on the market for the holidays. Right. And then in January, the buyer demand starts picking up, but the sellers haven't gone back in gear because they don't really want to start selling until March. Now they're so close.
I agree.
And so like now buyers start picking up. So in February, the market starts to raise in price. And so really October and I've read this elsewhere before this article came out, October is statistically the best time of the year to buy a home, has the most selection and the quickest dropping buyer demand. In fact, it said in this article that there are almost 19% more homes available in October than in January when the holidays are done.
Wow.
19%. So like right now, and I bought my house in October. A lot of my clients that have gotten the best deals have all bought their homes at the end of Q3 or sometime in Q4.
I'm gonna keep a mental note.
Call everybody.
Future reference.
Call everybody.
Future reference. Anytime I look for a property, I'll be giving Kev a call in October.
Well, there you go.
Year-round, actually, but...
Thank you, my friend, for coming out. And you guys have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, comment below. We'll get back to you. And obviously, reach out to Avo for any of your lending needs. And if you need to get connected with him, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to accommodate that for you.
Take care, you guys. Thank you.